Row 18, plot 20.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today I want to talk about a movie that released on March 31st, my birthday, Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves. This is a movie that I went in to see with very little interest, if I'm being totally honest. Not ever really been exposed to a lot of Dungeons and Dragons. I'm aware of it and how long it's been around, but as far as the lore of characters within the Dungeons and Dragons universe, not so much. So it's a PG-13 film. It's 2 hours and 14 minutes, which to me was really long. It has a 7.6 star rating on IMDb, and I think that's very deserving. The movie is about a charming thief and a band of unlikely adventurers embark on an epic quest to retrieve a lost relic, but things go dangerously awry when they run afoul of the wrong people. All the words of the weird descriptions. Directors John Francis Daly and Jonathan Goldstein. Writers Jonathan Goldstein, John Francis Daly, and Michael Giallo, maybe? It has a really interesting cast, so that is part of the reason why I decided to take the plunge and watch this movie. I'm a big Michelle Rodriguez fan. She plays Holga. Chris Pine, Edgin. I'm a fan of his. I like his portrayal of Kirk in Star Trek, and the first Wonder Woman movie as Steve Trevor. Another character that really intrigued me was Sophia Lillis. She plays Doric. She was in It, the recent It movies, and Hugh Grant. And I can't remember the last movie that I saw with Hugh Grant in it. It might have been like Four Weddings and a Funeral. Like, that's a while ago. So I was interested to see how he looked on screen and how he's doing. So my notes go as followed. I wrote down that I immediately felt like it should have been direct to streaming. I can tell you that by the end of the film, I did not feel the same. That was like an initial, based on just the opening sequence and things like that, the flashback scenes, and just some of the cheesy Chris Pine, in my opinion, and that might be like how his character is in the lore of Dungeons and Dragons. So I'm giving like some latitude that I just may not be familiar with character traits of characters. So things that may have annoyed me may have been actually very true to the character. So I do want to say that. Let's see. Lots of flashbacks. So I didn't write a lot of notes, which is typically a good sign. That means that I was kind of engaged in the movie, probably a little more than I expected. I think visually it's very stunning. There's a lot of cool things going on. There's creatures. There's magic and adventure and suspense and twists with characters. It probably would have been more impactful, again, like if I knew more about the characters and the lore and the stories and the worlds that they were in. I kind of compare it to like going into a Harry Potter movie just cold, not knowing anything about the books or anything about the characters, and Fantastic Beasts. And I wrote something else down. I thought I did, but those are like the movies that I can think of that it made me feel like that. And I wasn't interested in seeing any of the Harry Potter movies or the Fantastic Beasts. So this was a little bit of a stretch for me to watch, but it is enjoyable. It's very action filled. There's good sequences. I did watch afterwards one of those here's 152 Easter eggs you missed in the Dungeons and Dragons, and exactly what I thought was the case was there were so many things going on. So if you're like a Dungeons and Dragons hardcore fan, you probably were geeking out in the movie, and I love that. I love when movies go hard into like the history of the stories and just drop fan service Easter eggs that a probably small percentage of people are going to get. I get that way when I watch the Marvel movies or the DC movies, when they throw in those little Easter eggs, and I'm in the audience and I'm like, that's and I see like most of the people near me are not understanding why I just got excited because someone said like one word, or I saw a sign that had one word on it. So, but if you're a fantasy action movie lover, you're going to really love this. It's good for family movies too, or, like for family if you're going out during spring break or you got the kids for the weekend or whatever. Like, this is a good movie. I think it's going to do really well. I imagine this will become a franchise. I can't imagine that they wouldn't be announcing green light for a sequel soon. But yeah, it's overall good, and the acting is decent, and like I said, the lighting's good. The effects all worked. So well done, Paramount and Hasbro Toys, and whatever other production companies that are attached to it. There's always like a list of 18 of them. Paramount being the biggest one, and then this is all based on Wizards of the Coast, I believe, are the current owners of the Dungeons and Dragons games. But I think Hasbro puts out the action figures and toys. If I'm not correct on that, leave some comments down below. Let me know what you think of this movie if you saw it, and like would I've enjoyed it even more if I knew more about the lore of Dungeons and Dragons.
So have your dream. Go on and sing your song. There's nothing wrong with singing out of tune. If people laugh and say your dream can never be, just think of me.